The Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of star systems argued loudly across the massive chamber, their voices echoing in the high-domed hall. The air smelled faintly of ozone, a side effect of the energy shields that kept the room pressurized for species that could not breathe the same air. Every delegate was tense, every gesture sharp. For months, rumors had been spreading that Earth humans were acting without permission, ignoring treaties, and advancing technology at a speed no one could control. Now, the Council had called an emergency session to decide humanity's fate. The Council's leaders believed the time had come for a bold action. If humans were not stopped, it was feared they could become too powerful. The plan was simple in theory. Activate the containment protocol, a massive galaxy-wide lockdown that would isolate Earth and all human colonies. Once activated, the protocol would prevent humans from leaving their star system, block their communications, and monitor every attempt at expansion. To most in the chamber, it seemed like a straightforward solution to a problem that had been growing for decades. But as the discussion went on, one presence in the room remained calm. The human observer. He or it stood at the edge of the chamber, silent, almost smiling. While other species argued, blaming humans for their unpredictability and recklessness, he watched. Nobody knew exactly what he was thinking. Some speculated he was worried. Others guessed he was afraid. But the truth was far stranger. Humans had already anticipated this day. They were not afraid, and they were not unprepared. Outside the council chambers, the galaxy itself had begun to notice strange behavior from humans. Entire fleets had stopped responding to routine transmissions. Spaceports that once hummed with activity were silent. Planets with bustling colonies now seemed deserted. It was subtle at first. Some species thought humans were hiding, or maybe complying quietly to avoid conflict. But the truth was far different. Humans were leaving, quietly and systematically. They had started evacuating planets, recalling ships, and erasing any signs of their presence. Back in the council chamber, tension reached a peak. Species argued over what measures to take first, over who had the authority to press the containment button. The Chancellor, a tall being with translucent skin that revealed a constantly shifting network of veins underneath, raised a claw to quiet the room. "Enough," the Chancellor said. "We cannot wait any longer. Humanity has crossed lines we cannot ignore. We must activate the protocol now." A wave of murmurs passed through the chamber. Some delegates were relieved. Others were panicked. "Do we know for sure where their fleets are?" asked one delegate, her voice trembling. "Have they moved beyond our reach?" "Perhaps," the Chancellor admitted, "but we cannot let uncertainty delay us. Humanity has shown a capacity for ingenuity we cannot hope to match in time. The protocol must begin immediately." As the chamber prepared for the decisive vote, the human observer continued to stand quietly. He made no move, offered no argument, and yet somehow his calmness unsettled the other delegates. They had debated, threatened, and schemed for months, thinking they had the advantage. They had underestimated humans once again. Meanwhile, on Earth and its colonies, preparations were already complete. The humans had long predicted that the Council might one day attempt to control them. Over decades, they had built systems and networks to respond instantaneously. Ships capable of long-range travel were hidden in secret hangars. Supply depots and communication hubs were carefully concealed. And most importantly, humans had already synchronized a mass departure plan. Every colony, every station, every fleet would vanish on the same day. Leaving no trace behind in the council chamber, the vote was finally called. Delegates pressed their panels, signaling their agreement to activate the containment protocol. The large circular button at the center of the chamber glowed with energy, ready to unleash the containment measures across the galaxy. The Chancellor's claw hovered above it for a moment, the room holding its collective breath. But outside the chamber, the human fleets had already begun their silent exodus. Ships moved in coordinated patterns, slipping past surveillance, leaving behind empty docks and erased logs. On each planet, automated systems ensured that no traces were left behind. Even the smallest outposts were emptied in an organized, almost surgical manner. Humanity's departure was complete as the Chancellor pressed the button. Expecting a surge of energy to ripple across the galaxy, nothing happened. Monitors showed empty space where human fleets should have been. Communications panels reported silence. Sensors that had tracked human activity for years now detected nothing. The Council delegates stared in disbelief. How could this be? Had the protocol failed? Was there a malfunction in the system? The human observer in the chamber finally spoke. His voice was calm, quiet, yet it carried through the hall like a ripple. "You are too late," he said. "We have already left." Shock spread across the chamber. Delegates looked at one another, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Systems were double-checked, sensors recalibrated, and yet the readings were the same. Earth and all human colonies were gone. Not destroyed, not hidden, simply gone. Every prediction, every strategy, every calculation the Council had made had failed in the following hours. As the realization settled in, fear began to replace anger. Delegates frantically reviewed maps and star charts, trying to determine where humans had gone. Rumors spread that humans had developed technology far beyond anything the Council knew. Some whispered that Earth had found a way to escape conventional space, traveling in ways that defied known physics. Others speculated that humans had anticipated every move the Council might make, every protocol, every contingency, and had always been one step ahead. The calm human observer watched as panic consumed the chamber. He did not celebrate, did not gloat. He had expected this reaction. Humans had long understood that the galaxy's rules were slow, bureaucratic, and predictable. And humans had learned to move faster than anyone could track. Outside, in the empty docks and silent colonies, the remnants of humanity's presence remained. Ships floated in formation, waiting for orders. Automated systems ensured life support and navigation continued without interruption. Data cores held the knowledge of human civilization, ready to be accessed once humans had reached the next stage of their journey. Back in the Council chamber, delegates began to realize a painful truth. They had assumed humans were vulnerable, that the containment protocol would succeed if executed with enough speed and precision. They had been wrong. Humanity had never been within their reach, not in the way they understood. Every calculation, every threat, every plan had underestimated human ingenuity, patience, and foresight. The Chancellor, usually so confident, sat silently, staring at the empty space where humans once were. The room remained filled with delegates, their own fear and disbelief heavy in the air. No one spoke. No one dared move. They had acted too late, and now the consequences were clear and far away. Moving through the void of space with quiet purpose, humanity continued its journey. The galaxy might believe it had control, might think it could contain them, but humans had already moved beyond. Every system, every colony, every fleet had been part of a plan executed perfectly. Humanity was no longer in the Council's reach, not because of force, but because they had never been caught in the first place. The Council had prepared for war, for resistance, for rebellion, but they had not prepared for humans leaving entirely. And in that silence, that empty space where Earth and its colonies had once been, the galaxy began to understand a fundamental truth. Humans were not just another species to be managed or controlled. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and always one step ahead. The chamber slowly emptied, but the fear lingered. Whispers of "too late" and "gone" echoed long after the meeting ended. The galaxy had learned a lesson the hard way, and humans, silent and unseen, continued forward, leaving a void where once they had been a void, filled with wonder, fear, and the undeniable proof that when humans decide to act, no one can stop them. After the shock of Earth's disappearance settled over the Council, the galaxy began to notice even stranger things. What had seemed like random silence at first now looked like a coordinated, deliberate action. Entire human colonies were disappearing from star charts. Automated communication systems, which had once pinged the Council daily, now offered nothing but dead silence. Fleets that had been stationed in known patrol routes simply vanished, leaving no trace of their existence. For most issues, it was hard to understand. Where could they have gone? Was the question that ran through every nervous mind. Planets that had been bustling hubs of activity, industrial centers, research colonies, even remote mining stations, were now completely empty. At first, some species thought humans might be hiding, preparing for war, or attempting to outmaneuver the Council in some subtle way. But as reports continued to arrive, it became clear that humans were not hiding. They were leaving. The evacuation was subtle, almost invisible. Ships did not fly in chaotic waves. No alarms rang across the colonies. Humans had perfected the art of silent departure. Every fleet moved according to precise schedules, following patterns that would make any observer believe nothing had changed. Logs were wiped clean, supply depots emptied, and every colony left a small automated message. These messages were not warnings or threats. They simply stated that humans had departed for reasons that were not for others to interfere with. At the same time, the Council struggled to make sense of it. Delegates who had once been confident now panicked. Their instruments were useless. Every system they monitored, every probe they sent, came back with the same result: empty space. Attempts to track human activity only confirmed the frightening reality. Humans had already moved beyond detection. The Council sent teams of researchers and analysts to study the departure. They combed through spaceports, mining stations, and orbital laboratories. Everywhere they went, the same pattern emerged. Human presence had been meticulously erased. The planet's infrastructure was in perfect order, yet it was devoid of life. Tools, ships, and machines remained functional, maintained by automated systems, yet no humans were there to operate them. The Council members could not believe the efficiency. How could a species leave such a vast area without leaving even the smallest hint of its movement? On the outer colonies, the few species that had been friendly with humans began to notice the absence even more acutely. Merchant ships found docking bays abandoned. Communication channels that once buzzed with daily chatter went silent. For some, it was confusing. For others, it was frightening. If humans could leave in such a coordinated way, what else were they capable of? In the midst of this, humans themselves moved like ghosts through the stars. Their fleets traveled along carefully chosen routes, avoiding known patrol systems and sensor grids. Colonies were relocated in stages, with all essential personnel, supplies, and equipment accounted for. Every ship had its path and destination, every plan executed flawlessly. There was no panic, no disorder, just precise, efficient movement. On Earth, the departure was equally calm. Cities that had once been full of noise and life were now quiet. Systems monitored by artificial intelligence ensured the planet remained safe, even in the absence of humans. Machines continued to function as if humans were still present, but the streets and skies were empty. Those who remained behind for oversight worked only briefly before automated systems took over entirely. Humanity's ability to orchestrate this departure was staggering. Back in the Council chamber, the delegates' frustration grew. They had planned a containment strategy, but it had been rendered meaningless. Their instruments could not track human movements. Their fleets could not intercept the departing ships, and their attempts to predict the next move failed repeatedly. Panic began to creep in among even the most experienced diplomats. They had underestimated humans at every turn. Reports of strange phenomena began to appear. Energy signatures that no one recognized were detected near former human colonies. Some scientists suggested humans had developed a new form of propulsion, something beyond warp or slipstream technology. Others speculated that humans had found a way to traverse space and dimensions that no one could yet perceive. Whatever it was, it left the galaxy stunned and fearful dot as humans continued their silent migration. They also left behind subtle lessons. Automated systems maintained infrastructure, ensuring that planets were still habitable, that colonies could function even without direct oversight. It was as if humans had designed a perfect, self-sustaining system, one that would protect resources and knowledge even in their absence. The galaxy began to see that humans had not fled out of fear. They were moving according to a plan, one that showed foresight and intelligence beyond what most species could comprehend. The Council's attempts to communicate with humans were met with silence. Every message sent across the void returned unanswered. Delegates began to realize that humans had not merely left, they had chosen not to respond. They had made a deliberate decision to remove themselves from the reach of the galaxy's authorities. Observers from other species began documenting the exodus. They watched fleets move along invisible paths, leaving empty star systems in their wake. Analysts tried to calculate how long it would take humans to reach distant regions, but the speed and coordination were unlike anything they had seen. It was clear that humans had prepared for this moment for years, if not decades. Meanwhile, humans themselves remained calm and focused. On every ship, every station, every colony, individuals carried out their duties without hesitation. No one panicked. No one faltered. They moved with purpose, fully aware of the galaxy watching, and yet completely indifferent to its attention. It was a quiet, confident demonstration of skill, planning, and patience that left anyone who observed them in awe. For the Council, the reality was impossible to ignore. Humans had anticipated their actions, predicted their responses, and executed a plan that no one else could have conceived. The galaxy's rulers, who prided themselves on control, were powerless. They had thought humans were a problem to be contained, a species to be managed. Instead, they had witnessed a civilization moving freely, beyond detection, beyond reach, and beyond comprehension. As the days passed, the Council began to understand the implications. Humans were not merely leaving to hide, they were asserting independence. They had shown that no force in the galaxy could dictate their actions, that no authority could limit their movements, and that their ingenuity was beyond measure. The departure was not an act of fear. It was an act of strategy, intelligence, and vision. And so, as empty star systems replaced once busy colonies, as abandoned docks and silent planets marked the absence of humans, the galaxy began to change. Species that had underestimated humans re-evaluated their assumptions. Those who had dismissed human potential now feared it. And the Council, still reeling from its own failure to act in time, began to realize a fundamental truth. Humans did not simply follow the rules. They created their own dock. By the time the Council could consider any response, it was already too late. Humanity had disappeared from their view, leaving only evidence of its efficiency, its planning, and its foresight. The galaxy, once so confident in its own control, had been reminded in the most dramatic way that humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and always one step ahead, even in silence. The humans' presence was felt. Systems remained operational, fleets moved along hidden paths, and colonies thrived without their inhabitants. It was a quiet, profound statement. Humanity had not abandoned the galaxy. It had transcended it, moving according to its own plan, and demonstrating a level of intelligence and coordination that no other species had yet achieved. The Council's panic grew, but there was nothing they could do. They had waited too long, acted too slowly, and now the humans were beyond reach. Their departure was complete, and the galaxy could only watch, speculate, and fear what might come next. For humans, the exodus was just the beginning. Every action was deliberate, every move calculated, and every plan executed with precision. They had left the council scrambling, but they were not fleeing. They were advancing, moving forward, and demonstrating the unique combination of patience, intelligence, and foresight that had always set them apart. The galaxy would take years, perhaps centuries, to understand what had just happened. Systems would be rebuilt, fleets reassigned, and strategies reconsidered. But one lesson was clear to all who observed. Humans did not simply leave, they left a statement. They had acted with purpose, leaving the galaxy to grapple with the reality that when humans decide to move, no one can stop them. The day the Council finally pressed the containment button should have been the moment of their victory. Delegates from dozens of species leaned forward, claws, tentacles, and hands hovering over panels as the Chancellor, his translucent skin glowing faintly in the chamber lights, slammed the massive, glowing button. A ripple of energy was supposed to spread across the galaxy, instantly locking humanity within its star system, isolating Earth and its colonies from the rest of the cosmos. Every species in the chamber expected to see confirmation on their screens, to hear the buzz of containment protocols activating, to witness the final proof that humans could be restrained. Instead, there was nothing. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by whispers of confusion and fear. Monitors that had once tracked human activity now displayed empty coordinates. Communications arrays showed no signals. Sensors that could detect even the faintest trace of human presence reported zero readings. Fleets that had been stationed to monitor human movement suddenly appeared to be tracking empty space. The entire galaxy seemed to have swallowed the humans, and the Council could not understand how. Delegates turned to each other, disbelief in their voices. "Check the systems again," one said, her voice trembling. "Surely there's a malfunction. The button must have failed." Teams of technicians scrambled to confirm the data. Panels were rebooted, sensors recalibrated, and probes sent to former human territories. But every scan, every measurement, returned the same result. The humans were gone. Not destroyed, not hidden, simply gone. A galaxy that had prided itself on knowledge, control, and foresight now faced an undeniable truth. They had been outmaneuvered. The human observer in the chamber finally spoke. His voice was calm, quiet, yet it carried an authority that silenced the chaos around him. "You pressed the button too late," he said. "We have already left." For a moment, the room froze. Delegates blinked, some in disbelief, others in fear. How could a single species, one that had been perceived as confined to its own system, disappear without a trace? How could they evade the most sophisticated surveillance, outpace the most advanced fleets, and leave not a single clue behind? The answer was something no one wanted to admit. Humans had anticipated everything. They had prepared for this moment far longer than anyone realized. Outside the chamber, the galaxy itself reflected the consequences of human departure. Ships moved along carefully plotted courses, avoiding detection entirely. Human colonies that had once been busy with trade, research, and industry were now empty, their automated systems maintaining life support, energy, and infrastructure. Factories continued to produce goods for distribution across the fleet. Stations cleaned themselves. Supply depots organized their inventories. Every step was calculated, efficient, and precise. Humans were not fleeing. They were relocating, moving in a manner that ensured survival, readiness, and continued progress. In the council chamber, the panic intensified. Delegates struggled to accept what had happened. For years, they had believed they had control. The containment protocol was supposed to be the ultimate tool to assert dominance over a species that was growing too fast. And yet, it had failed completely. Humans had disappeared before it could even begin. The galaxy's most powerful authorities had been rendered powerless by a species they had underestimated. Analysts tried to calculate how humans had done it. Could they have developed faster-than-light technology beyond what the Council knew? Was there a hidden network of warp gates, secret jump points, or advanced stealth systems? Every theory failed to fully explain the scale of the departure. Humans had not only moved their fleets, they had evacuated entire colonies, relocated massive infrastructures, and erased all evidence of their presence. It was not just a disappearance. It was a demonstration of intelligence and foresight that no other species had yet achieved. Meanwhile, on Earth and its colonies, humans continued their exodus with calm precision. Ships traveled in formation, coordinated by advanced AI systems that ensured every vessel remained on course. Every fleet followed pre-programmed paths designed to avoid detection, bypass known patrol routes, and maintain operational readiness. Colonies were evacuated systematically, with all essential personnel and resources accounted for. Every machine, every system, every operation was synchronized perfectly. It was a silent ballet of movement, invisible to those who were trying desperately to track them. Some of the Council's most experienced diplomats began to speculate in hushed tones. Perhaps the humans had discovered a form of propulsion or energy manipulation unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Perhaps they had learned to traverse dimensions or shift into parallel spaces. Whatever it was, it left every observer questioning their assumptions about what humans were capable of. A species they had once believed manageable, predictable, and confined had moved beyond their reach in a single precise operation. The Chancellor, usually so composed, sat in stunned silence. He had pressed the button expecting immediate results, expecting to assert authority over a species that had become too independent. Instead, he had witnessed the unimaginable. Humans had acted on their own terms, bypassing every safeguard, every trap, every plan the Council had devised. The thought that humans had not only outsmarted them, but had anticipated the Council's response left a heavy weight of fear and respect in the room. As the hours passed, the full scope of the human exodus became clearer. Planets that had been hubs of human activity were now empty. Orbital stations drifted silently, automated systems maintaining order, but no humans present to command them. Fleets had left not just the immediate vicinity of Earth, but entire sectors. Communications that once relayed daily updates from colonies were dead. Every signal, every trace, every connection had been deliberately cut. Humans were gone, and there was no way to predict where they had gone next. Other species across the galaxy began to realize the implications as well. Merchants who had relied on human trade routes found their deliveries missing. Scientists studying human technologies noted that even in their absence, automated systems continued to operate with incredible efficiency. Strategists, military leaders, and diplomats began to fear not just what humans had done, but what they might do in the future. They had seen a glimpse of human ingenuity, coordination, and foresight, and it was unlike anything they had encountered before. For the humans themselves, the departure was routine. Every ship followed its course. Every fleet executed its orders. Every colony transitioned to automated oversight without hesitation. There was no panic, no disorder, just steady, deliberate movement, the kind that came from careful planning and absolute confidence in one's abilities. Humans had long understood the importance of preparation, coordination, and foresight. Their departure from the galaxy's immediate view was not a flight from danger. It was a step forward in a carefully designed plan. Back in the Council chamber, discussions turned to strategy, but there was little anyone could do. Every calculation had failed. Every fleet, every sensor, every communication line was useless against humans who had anticipated them all. Fear spread among the delegates. But it was not fear of violence. It was fear of intelligence, of vision, of a species that operated on a level no one else could yet comprehend. Some began to whisper that perhaps humans had left entirely, not just from their colonies, but from known space itself. Perhaps they had discovered a method of travel that allowed them to bypass conventional reality. Perhaps they had moved to a place beyond the reach of sensors, fleets, and communications. The more the Council tried to understand, the more impossible the situation seemed. The human observer in the chamber remained calm, watching as panic, confusion, and fear spread through the Council. He had no need to explain, to justify, or to gloat. The humans had acted on their own terms, and their actions spoke louder than any words. The Council had pressed the button too late. Humanity had already left Dot by the end of the day. The reality could no longer be ignored. Humans were gone. Not defeated, not hiding, not contained, gone. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. No protocol, no strategy, no fleet, and no amount of bureaucracy could control a species that moved with foresight, intelligence, and patience. Humans had demonstrated their independence, their ingenuity, and their ability to act on a scale beyond the comprehension of even the most advanced civilizations. And as the galaxy reeled from this realization, humans continued their silent journey through the stars. Planets, colonies, and fleets moved in precise coordination, their presence erased, their departure flawless. The Council could only watch in disbelief, fear, and awe, understanding at last that humans were no longer within reach, but that their absence did not mean they were powerless. Humans were already moving toward the next step of their plan, leaving the galaxy to wonder, to fear, and to prepare for a return that no one could predict. The day the Council pressed the button would be remembered, not as a moment of triumph, but as a moment of failure, a stark lesson in timing, foresight, and the unique nature of humanity. They had acted too late. Humanity had already left. After the shock of the Council, pressing the button and finding humans gone, the galaxy was left in chaos and confusion. Delegates scrambled to understand what had happened, but the truth was impossible to ignore. Humans were gone, and they had left behind not destruction, but careful traces of their intelligence and planning. It was as if every human decision, every fleet movement, every evacuation had been designed to teach the galaxy a lesson. Teams were sent to investigate former human colonies, star systems, and orbital stations. Every location was deserted, yet perfectly maintained. Machines continued to operate with precision. Factories still produced materials. Communication relays remained active, but they sent no messages. Energy grids hummed steadily, ensuring that every system was powered. Every place humans had touched was left orderly, clean, and functional. As if the humans had wanted to leave without causing chaos. It was in these empty colonies that other species first realized the scale of human foresight. Automated systems had been programmed to maintain everything for months, perhaps even years, without human intervention. Supplies were organized, tools and ships maintained, and even routine tasks were carried out. It was not just a disappearance. It was a demonstration of self-sufficiency, intelligence, and careful planning. Humans had not abandoned their worlds. They had prepared them to function without them. The Council grew desperate to find answers. Analysts tried to decode the faint traces of energy that humans had left behind. Sensors picked up residual signatures, but they were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Some suggested that humans had developed a form of propulsion or travel unknown to any other species. Others speculated that humans had tapped into a new dimension of space, one where conventional detection methods failed. Every theory seemed insufficient to explain the complete and flawless disappearance. At the same time, scattered observers across the galaxy began sharing reports. Merchant ships that had depended on human trade routes found abandoned docks, and empty trading posts. Scientists studying human technology discovered that even without humans present, machines continued to operate flawlessly. Engineers realized that humans had left behind automated maintenance systems that could manage an entire colony without intervention. Every step of the exodus had been carefully calculated. Leaving the galaxy awed and uneasy. In the council chamber, delegates were forced to face a painful truth. Humans had not merely disappeared. They had acted on a scale and with a precision that no other species could match. Every move had been deliberate, every system accounted for. Humans had not been trapped. They had chosen their path, and they had executed it flawlessly. The galaxy's most powerful authorities had been rendered powerless, not because of failure or incompetence, but because they had underestimated the humans entirely. Meanwhile, humans themselves continued to move silently through space. Fleets traveled along hidden paths, avoiding detection, guided by AI systems and carefully calculated coordinates. Every ship followed a pre-programmed course, every fleet synchronized with others across vast distances. Colonies had been evacuated in stages, ensuring that nothing was left behind to compromise the plan. Even the smallest details, from food storage to fuel reserves, had been accounted for. There was no panic, no disorder. Everything was smooth, precise, and deliberate. The galaxy began to notice patterns in the human departure. Ships moved not randomly, but along specific corridors that avoided known patrols. Colonies were evacuated in ways that maximized efficiency and minimized exposure. It became clear that humans had been planning this for decades. Every fleet, every station, every colony was part of a larger, coordinated effort. It was not just a retreat. It was a migration, a strategic relocation, executed with absolute perfection. Council analysts struggled to understand the energy signatures left behind. They were unlike any known propulsion or power system. Some theorized that humans had found a way to manipulate space itself, traveling without leaving detectable traces. Others thought humans had moved into a dimension outside conventional reality. Every explanation pointed to the same conclusion. Humans were far beyond the technological understanding of the galaxy. As the scale of the departure became clearer, fear and awe spread among the council. Delegates realized that they had not merely failed to contain humans, they had been outsmarted entirely. The species they had considered manageable, predictable, and confined had demonstrated the ability to act independently, on a scale and with a foresight no one else could match. The galaxy had underestimated humans at every turn, and now it faced the consequences. Even in the absence of humans, their influence was undeniable. Automated systems maintained colonies perfectly. Fleets continued to move along hidden paths. Supplies, infrastructure, and communications were organized and operational. Humans had left the galaxy with a statement. They did not need the Council's approval. They did not rely on the galaxy's systems, and they could operate independently. Every trace left behind was a demonstration of intelligence, foresight, and efficiency that no other species could match. As the Council tried to formulate a response, they faced yet another realization. Humans were not just gone, they were untouchable. Fleets sent to track them returned with no results. Communication attempts failed. Sensors detected nothing. Humans had not fled out of fear. They had moved beyond the reach of conventional observation. The galaxy could see where humans had been, but not where they were going. The Council's fear turned to speculation. Some began to whisper that humans had developed a form of travel that no one could detect. Others believed that humans had moved to a region of space that existed outside known coordinates. What no one doubted was that humans had acted deliberately, with precision, and with intelligence beyond any species the galaxy had encountered. The lesson was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. Across the empty colonies, subtle messages remained. Not threats, not warnings, just evidence of thoughtfulness and preparation. Automated systems left behind by humans ensured that the galaxy would notice the absence and feel its impact. Every empty dock, every silent station, every operational system was a reminder that humans had moved on, leaving the galaxy to confront its own assumptions about power, control, and intelligence. Meanwhile, humans continued forward, fleet by fleet, colony by colony. Each action was deliberate, each movement calculated. They had anticipated every reaction from the Council, every attempt to contain them, and had acted before any measure could take effect. It was not chaos, it was not fear, it was a demonstration of foresight and patience, qualities that had always set humans apart. The galaxy, meanwhile, tried to make sense of the empty systems and abandoned colonies. Delegates, scientists, and strategists pieced together fragments of information, but nothing could fully explain the scale of human planning. Every attempt to track, calculate, or predict human behavior failed. Humans had moved according to their own plan, beyond the reach of anyone else. By the end of the first cycle of observation, the galaxy had learned a crucial lesson. Humans did not follow rules they did not create. They did not submit to authority they did not respect. They acted on their own terms, with intelligence, foresight, and coordination that no one could match. The empty colonies, the silent fleets, and the automated systems were not failures. They were proof of human capability, ingenuity, and independence. The Council began to realize something even more unsettling. Humans had not only left, they had left a message. Their disappearance was a demonstration of control, a proof that they could operate beyond the reach of any authority. Every empty colony, every maintained station, every silent fleet was a reminder that humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and always one step ahead. And in the vast emptiness left behind, other species began to rethink everything they knew. Trade routes would have to be reorganized, security measures reconsidered, strategies rewritten. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and now it faced the consequences of that miscalculation. Humans, meanwhile, moved forward with calm confidence. Every fleet, every colony, every action was part of a larger plan. They did not flee out of fear. They moved with purpose, intelligence, and foresight. They had left the galaxy with a statement that could not be ignored. Humans acted on their own terms, and no one could control them. The empty colonies, the abandoned docks, the silent stations all served as a reminder to the galaxy. Humans were gone, but they had not abandoned their worlds. They had left systems prepared, fleets organized, and infrastructure operational. Every trace left behind was a demonstration of thought, planning, and intelligence that would leave the galaxy in awe for decades to come. The Council, for all its power, could only watch and wonder. Humans had acted before anyone could respond. They had moved beyond reach, beyond detection, and beyond comprehension. And as humans continued their journey through the stars, the galaxy realized a truth that would resonate for generations. Humans did not just survive. They planned, anticipated, and acted with precision, leaving the rest of the galaxy scrambling to keep up. As days turned into weeks, the Council and the galaxy at large began to piece together what humans had accomplished. At first, it seemed impossible. Entire fleets, dozens of colonies, and countless stations had vanished as if swallowed by the void. No one could explain how they had moved so quickly, so silently, or with such perfect coordination. Even the most advanced sensor networks and patrol systems had been unable to detect them. Every calculation the galaxy had relied on had failed. Humans had acted on a scale and with precision that no one had. Anticipated. Scientists and strategists tried desperately to make sense of the residual energy traces humans had left behind. They appeared unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered. Some suggested humans had discovered a form of travel that manipulated the very fabric of space. Others speculated humans had tapped into an entirely new dimension, moving through it in ways the Council could neither measure nor track. The more the galaxy studied, the more impossible the phenomenon seemed. Humanity was operating at a level far beyond the understanding of every other species. Back on Earth and its remaining fleets, humans continued forward with methodical determination. Fleets moved along carefully plotted courses, each ship maintaining precise distances, each fleet synchronized with others across vast regions of space. Colonies had been relocated systematically, supplies perfectly managed, and automated systems maintained infrastructure with flawless efficiency. Every step was deliberate, every action calculated, every move part of a plan designed long before the Council had even imagined it. It became clear to the galaxy that humans had not just escaped, they had transcended. While the Council and other species were focused on containment and control, humans had acted with patience and foresight. They had anticipated every possible move the Council might make, every fleet that could intercept them, every sensor that might detect them. Humans had planned not just for the present, but for years into the future, and their execution was flawless. Delegates in the Council chamber struggled to come to terms with this reality. Some whispered fears about the unknown technologies humans might have developed. Others feared the strategic implications. If humans could move undetected across space, what could they do next? Could they return at any time? Could they act in ways no one could predict? The questions were endless, and no answer could offer reassurance. Observers across the galaxy began documenting every trace humans had left. They visited abandoned colonies, silent fleets, and empty spaceports, trying to understand the scope of human planning. Everywhere they looked, the evidence was the same. Humans had acted with precision, intelligence, and foresight. Automated systems maintained colonies without human intervention. Fleets moved along hidden paths. Supplies were organized. Infrastructure remained operational. It was a silent demonstration of capability, a quiet proof that humans had acted beyond the reach of the galaxy's authorities. The Council itself began to recognize a deeper truth. Humans had not only evaded containment, they had made it clear that they were beyond the galaxy's understanding and control. Every empty system, every silent colony, every maintained station was a reminder that humans had acted independently, and that no authority, fleet, or technology could dictate their choices. Humanity had moved on its own terms, and the galaxy could only observe in scattered sectors. Whispers began to spread among scientists, diplomats, and military strategists. Some speculated that humans had discovered a method of travel that allowed them to move faster than light without leaving detectable traces. Others believed humans had found a way to exist outside conventional space, moving in a realm beyond the reach of sensors and fleets. Whatever the truth, it became clear that humans had outpaced every other civilization, not through brute force, but through intelligence, planning, and foresight. Meanwhile, humans themselves continued their migration without disruption. Ships followed their routes precisely, fleets maintained perfect coordination, and colonies functioned seamlessly under automated systems. There was no panic, no rush, no disorder. Humans had acted with patience and clarity, moving deliberately to achieve a goal that no other species could even fully comprehend. Every aspect of the departure reflected careful planning and deep understanding of both technology and strategy. Across the galaxy, other species struggled to react. Fleets were redirected, patrol routes extended, and communication networks expanded, but all attempts to locate humans failed. Every strategy, every calculation, every prediction was met with silence. Humans had moved beyond the galaxy's reach, leaving only evidence of their intelligence and foresight behind. Observers could see the traces, but they could not understand the methods. Humans had acted on their own terms, and the rest of the galaxy could only wonder what came next. In the council chamber, fear and respect replaced anger and frustration. Delegates realized that humans were not just another species. They were a civilization operating on a level far beyond what anyone else had achieved. They had anticipated every move, predicted every response, and executed a plan that ensured both safety and freedom. The galaxy's authorities had not failed because of incompetence. They had failed because they were dealing with a species whose abilities and intelligence were unmatched. Even as humans moved silently through the stars, their presence was felt everywhere. Automated systems maintained planets and colonies, fleets moved undetected, and supplies were organized to support continued progress. The galaxy could see the results, but not the process. Humans had left a silent message. They were self-reliant, independent, and capable of acting beyond the reach of any authority. Every empty colony, every silent fleet, every maintained station was proof of their foresight and intelligence. Meanwhile, in hidden regions of space, humans continued to advance. They moved toward distant systems, exploring new worlds, establishing new colonies, and ensuring their survival for generations to come. Every decision was deliberate, every action part of a larger plan that had been crafted over decades. They had not fled out of fear. They had acted with purpose, intelligence, and confidence. As the weeks passed, the galaxy slowly began to understand the full implications. Humans had not only left, they had left in a way that demonstrated control, intelligence, and foresight far beyond the reach of any other species. They had anticipated every reaction, every attempt at interception, every calculation. The council's most advanced technologies had failed to track them, not because of malfunction, but because humans had acted before any system could respond. Even without humans present, the impact of their departure was profound. Systems once bustling with human activity remained operational. Colonies functioned autonomously. Fleets moved along invisible paths. Supplies were managed with precision. The galaxy realized that humans had prepared for the absence, ensuring continuity and survival. Their departure was not just an escape, it was a demonstration of strategy, planning, and intelligence that no other species could match. The Council and the galaxy were left with a new understanding. Humans were not just unpredictable, they were unstoppable when acting with foresight. No protocol, no fleet, no calculation could limit their actions. Humans had demonstrated that they could operate independently, on a scale beyond the comprehension of the galaxy's authorities. Their disappearance was not a failure, but a statement. And humans, moving silently through the stars, continued to demonstrate their unique combination of intelligence, foresight, and coordination. Every fleet, every colony, every action was a deliberate step forward. They had left the galaxy to scramble in their wake to learn the hard truth. Humans did not wait for permission, did not follow imposed rules, and could act beyond the reach of any authority. By the end of this period, it was undeniable. Humans had transcended the limitations that the galaxy had assumed were universal. They had outpaced every fleet, every calculation, every sensor network. They had moved in ways that could not be predicted, leaving only proof of their intelligence, strategy, and foresight. The galaxy could observe, speculate, and prepare, but it could not stop what humans had already set in motion. For humans, the journey continued. Every action, every fleet, every colony was part of a carefully orchestrated plan. They moved forward, with calm precision, not out of fear, but with confidence. Every system, every fleet, every automated colony reflected the intelligence, foresight, and independence that had always set humans apart. The Council could only watch in awe and fear. Humans had not only left, they had left a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. When humans act with foresight and precision, no power, no fleet, and no authority can stop them. After months of observing the empty colonies, silent fleets, and maintained systems left by humans, the Council finally had to admit the truth. Humanity had done what no species had thought possible. They had left, but not in fear or haste. They had moved with patience, intelligence, and purpose. Every fleet, every colony, every automated system left behind was a testament to foresight, strategy, and skill. Humans had acted before the Council could even attempt to stop them. And now the galaxy had to face the consequences. Even without direct contact, the humans' influence spread. Automated systems continued to operate flawlessly, keeping colonies functional, managing fleets, and maintaining supplies. Every abandoned station, every silent dock, every empty city demonstrated a level of planning and care that no other species could match. Humans had not abandoned their worlds. They had left them in order, ensuring survival and continuity even in their absence. Across the galaxy, other species scrambled to react. Fleets were redirected, sensor networks expanded, and communication relays monitored every sector. But it was too late. Humans had vanished from known space, leaving only subtle traces of their passage. Every calculation, every estimate, every prediction had failed. Humans had outmaneuvered the galaxy not with weapons, but with intelligence and foresight. In the Council chamber, delegates could only stare at their monitors in disbelief. Months of preparation, coordination, and effort had been undone by a species they had consistently underestimated. They were always one step ahead, whispered one delegate. Every move we predicted, they anticipated. The room, once filled with confident discussion and strategic planning, was now heavy with fear, awe, and respect. Humanity had proven that control was an illusion when facing a species with vision and patience. Meanwhile, humans continued their journey through uncharted space. Fleets moved in perfect synchronization, colonies relocated methodically, and automated systems managed infrastructure with precision. There was no panic, no disorder, only calm, deliberate movement. Each fleet, each colony, each action was part of a long-term plan that ensured survival, growth, and readiness for whatever the galaxy might hold. Observers across the galaxy documented what they could. Scientists studied the residual energy signatures left by human fleets. Engineers examined automated systems still functioning on abandoned worlds. Strategists tried to predict where humans might appear next. But every observation led to the same conclusion. Humans had acted with intelligence and foresight far beyond any other species. They had moved before the Council could respond, leaving only evidence of their presence and the lesson that humans were unpredictable and unstoppable. Even the most experienced diplomats had to admit that humans were no longer bound by the galaxy's rules. Every abandoned colony, every silent station, every functioning system left behind was a demonstration that humans could operate independently on their own terms. The Council could monitor, calculate, and speculate, but they could not interfere. Humanity had left before any containment could take effect, proving that timing, strategy, and foresight were more powerful than fleets, or authority. Stories of human ingenuity began to spread across the galaxy. Traders spoke of abandoned stations where machines continued to function perfectly. Scientists marveled at fleets moving in invisible coordination. Military strategists worried about the implications. If humans could leave undetected, what else were they capable of? The galaxy realized that humans had transcended expectations, leaving a lasting impression of intelligence, patience, and planning that could not be ignored. Back on human fleets and colonies, life continued with precision and purpose. Humans had anticipated every need, every possibility, and every challenge. Supplies were managed efficiently, fleets navigated safely through unknown space, and colonies maintained order with automated systems. Every detail reflected careful thought, careful planning, and the ability to operate beyond the reach of any external authority. It was a quiet demonstration of capability, intelligence, and self-reliance. The Council struggled to come up with any response. Every fleet sent to track humans returned empty-handed. Every communication attempt failed. Humans had anticipated every strategy, every reaction, and had moved before any action could take effect. The galaxy had learned a painful lesson. Humans acted on their own terms, and no force, no technology, and no authority could control them. As the months passed, the scope of human planning became clearer. Colonies were relocated in stages, ensuring survival and growth. Fleets traveled along hidden paths to avoid detection. Automated systems maintained infrastructure, managed resources, and ensured continuity even in the absence of humans. It was not an escape. It was a deliberate, methodical migration designed to secure the future of the species. The impact on the galaxy was profound. Trade networks had to be reorganized. Military strategies had to be revised. Scientists and engineers had to study new technologies that humans had left behind. The galaxy realized that humans had acted not just to survive, but to demonstrate a level of intelligence, foresight, and independence unmatched by any other species. Every empty colony, every silent fleet, every functioning automated system was a message. Humans were beyond control, unpredictable and unstoppable. Despite their absence, humans continued to shape the galaxy. Their fleets moved with precision. Their colonies thrived under automated management, and their influence was felt everywhere they had once been. The galaxy could see the effects, but not the methods. Humans had moved beyond observation, beyond calculation, and beyond comprehension. They had demonstrated that foresight, intelligence, and planning were more powerful than authority, fleets, or technology. For the Council, the realization was humbling. Humanity had not been contained, captured, or stopped. They had acted independently, beyond the reach of any power. Delegates acknowledged the lesson. Underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. Every attempt to predict their actions had failed. Every calculation had been wrong. Humanity had proven that it could operate freely, strategically, and intelligently in ways no one else could. And so humans continued forward, silently and deliberately, shaping their own future while the galaxy scrambled to understand their capabilities. Every action, every fleet movement, every automated system was a demonstration of intelligence, foresight, and independence. Humans had left the galaxy with a clear message. They acted on their own terms, and no one could dictate their path. The empty colonies, silent stations, and functioning automated systems left behind were not just evidence of departure. They were proof of planning, foresight, and strategy. Humans had prepared for every eventuality, accounted for every need, and ensured continuity without relying on the galaxy's support. It was a lesson in independence and intelligence that no other species could match. As years passed, the galaxy slowly began to adapt to the absence of humans. Fleets were reorganized, colonies repopulated, and trade routes adjusted. But the memory of human foresight, intelligence, and independence remained. Every species, from the smallest traders to the most powerful fleets, understood one undeniable truth. Humans acted on their own terms, and no power could stop them. Meanwhile, humans continued their journey, advancing into new regions of space, exploring new worlds, and establishing colonies. Every fleet, every colony, every action was part of a larger plan that ensured survival, growth, and independence. They had left the galaxy scrambling in their wake, demonstrating that intelligence, foresight, and strategy were far more powerful than any weapon or fleet. The Council could only watch and learn. Humanity had moved beyond containment, beyond observation, and beyond comprehension. They had acted with precision, patience, and intelligence, leaving the galaxy to adapt to a new reality, Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and always one step ahead. In the end, humans had not only left, they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of strategy, foresight, and independence. Their departure was not an escape, but a lesson. Every empty colony, every silent fleet, and every functioning automated system left behind was a testament to intelligence, planning, and control. Humans had acted on their own terms, and the galaxy would never forget it. The Council, once confident in their control and authority, now understood that they had been outmaneuvered. Humanity had shown them the ultimate truth. Power and influence are not measured by fleets or authority, but by intelligence, foresight, and the ability to act beyond expectation. Humans had done exactly that, leaving the galaxy to admire, fear, and learn from their departure. And so, humans continued forward, silent yet unstoppable, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed and a council forever humbled.